Okay, welcome everybody to Redesigning School Counseling webinar for first-year schools. And at this meeting we will be preparing for Advisory Council Meeting 2, which is our meeting about visioning. My name is Sue Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director of the American Student Achievement Institute, and it's my pleasure to be with you today to walk through Meeting 2. So here's the agenda for today's webinar. We'll begin, as we always do, with a brief overview of beliefs and process. We will do that each month to just kind of reiterate where today's topic is falling into the big picture. Then we'll walk through Meeting 2. We'll do a walkthrough. We'll look at the submissions, the rubrics. We'll look at the resources that are available in the manual, and then the online process page. So, quick review, our beliefs are we believe that school counseling helps students make sound choices in areas that impact academic success with the emphasis on sound choices. This is the school counseling pyramid. We believe that when students have good guidance and counseling, they tend to make better choices, and as a result of those choices, achievement goes up. And then this year, when we're designing our school counseling program, we'll start at the top of the pyramid and look at what are your school's achievement goals and your school improvement plan. Then we'll talk about our choices. What choices do we want students to make so that your school can reach those goals? And then we'll look at, okay, how do we design the school counseling program to design those choices or to help students make those choices? In the process, we started out just getting ready. You put together your steering team, you collected data, you did your self-studies, put together your advisory council, and then this last month we just heard wonderful reports from schools about your first meeting with your advisory council to do the introduction. And then before we start looking at the achievement goals, we want to take a time to just talk about what are our community's dreams for kids. So at this meeting in October, we'll talk about what are our core convictions, what do we believe in our heart of hearts about kids and about learning and about school. And then we'll say, okay, if these are our core convictions, what are our dreams for kids? What are our dreams for achievement? What are our dreams for adult practices? What are our dreams for student practices in our school? This is a wonderful activity that helps the advisory council to understand we're all going in the same direction. We all have a common mission and a common purpose for coming together each month. We will come out of this meeting with a vision statement, but the main purpose is just to help your advisory council think about where are we headed. Do we have dreams for all kids or just some kids? It really helps to bind your advisory council into a common purpose. Then next month we'll look at what are the student choices that we want kids to make. Those are your program goals. The month after that, we'll look at how do we get more time and energy so that we can tackle as many of those goals as we possibly can. And then we'll look at, okay, now that we know how much time and energy we're going to have next year, what are our priority goals? You know, it may be that there's just one priority goal or two or three. It won't be a large number that you're really going to focus on for next year. Once we know what the priority goals are, then in February, we'll come back and look at another set of data to help you identify the lack of knowledge. We're identifying why kids aren't making those choices. So it might be a lack of knowledge, or it might be that there's social personal issues getting in the way, or it might be just that we haven't given them the opportunity to make those choices. So we'll look at those. We call those root causes. Then once we know what those root causes or barriers are, then in March, your advisory council will come together for the last time to talk about activities. What are we going to do about it? If we know kids don't have knowledge, how are we going to get them that knowledge? If we know they have knowledge but we're not giving them the opportunities, then how do we give them the opportunities? So in March, we'll come back and look at activities. Those activities then will not be kind of random activities. They'll be very targeted, high-leverage activities specifically designed to tackle those root causes. So that's the last meeting of Advisory Council in March. And then after that, the school counselors will work to develop those activities, so writing lesson plans, developing calendars, and creating an annual budget. Okay, so that's the process. assuming we've been through this a couple times, I'm going to assume that there's no questions and I'm not seeing hands up, so I'm just going to go on. So today's task is to look at our vision, your advisory council's vision for the ideal. And we'll be talking about preparing for that meeting during the rest of this webinar. This is the agenda for your next advisory council meeting. So you can see that you're going to start out with a welcome and a review, just like we do every month. Then there's a couple of things we need to do before revision. We want to make sure that your advisory council is really thinking out of the box and that they understand academic rigor and how important that is. So we'll define academic rigor, then we'll look at why academic rigor is so important, why we need to get kids to post-secondary ed, and why that's so important for students to do. So after we've done that kind of raising the bar kind of talk, then after break we'll come back and we'll start brainstorming the ideal state at your school. In your advisory council, again, they'll talk about their core convictions, ideal adult practices, ideal student choices, and then the ideal student achievement data. Okay, so for this meeting, in the online manual, here's the handouts that you'll be providing. So the first three are always the same. Actually, the first four are always the same: a cover page, the agenda, the diagram, and then the presentation. This time we're going to also pass out two documents, the Frederick Douglass Convictions and the Personal Vision Brainstorm. Those go with activities that we're going to do during the discussion. And then the last one is a longer document about elements that high-achieving schools tend to have in common. It's one that we would suggest that you pass that out to your advisory council before they get to your meeting to kind of help them think about, what does an ideal school look like, what are ideal adult practices, and how does that compare to what we're doing. So that's a document we suggest that you pass out before people get to your meeting. And then here's the tools for the meeting. The first two tools are always exactly the same. The prep for this case, it's the prep for meeting 2, and then the facilitator notes. And then just a reminder that at the end of each tool section, there's always the tasks to do after the meeting. This time, you also have a poster that you'll develop so that you can write down comments as people are making them in your discussions. And then you see that there's a sample vision statement and a sample mission statement, and also some guidelines for writing your mission. So those are the tools that you have in the manual to support your work this month. The other thing that you need for this month's activity is a copy of a videotape or a video. It's a 60-minute segment called the Lorraine Monroe Doctrine. It's 20 minutes of film at a school in Harlem. And the reason we're using it is we want to see if your advisory council can figure out what the teacher's core convictions are just by watching their behaviors. We want to know, just by watching somebody, can you figure out what they believe about kids and what they believe about learning? And what we're really trying to drive home is that people's behaviors are based on their core convictions. And then after watching this, we're going to start defining what is your community's core convictions. And then we're going to say, okay, if we believe in these things, then what should be our practices? And we'll start to define the ideal practices. So there's two ways that you can get a copy of this video. One is to borrow one from us. This video is actually out of print. They're out of production. They're not making it anymore. So if you'd like to borrow one of our copies, that'd be fine. Just send us an email and just make sure you get it back to us because we can't get any more of them. And then the other thing that you could do, you can download this video. Somebody, not us, has put this up on YouTube as a two-parter, so you can download part 1 and then part 2 and just show that to your advisory council. So either way, but do make plans ahead of time of how you're going to show this video to your council. Okay, so after the meeting, just kind of looking ahead, there's 3 submissions that you'll turn in. One is the actual vision statement, And there's 4 paragraphs to the vision statement. The first one describes your core convictions, and then second one, the ideal adult practices, third one, ideal student choices, student practices. The fourth one describes the ideal student achievement data. And then the fifth one there, and this one is impossible not to do right because we force you to do it when you put the data in the computer. But this one is about just saying that you're expressing all of your data as the percentage of students who are reaching a specific standard. Okay, then ASCA, for those of you who, well, if you're working on the ASCA RAMP Award or for Indiana counselors that are working on the Gold Star School Counseling Award, these are additional indicators that have to be met. So in your discussion of the ideal school counselors, which would be in paragraph 2, we also need to make sure that you've discussed how the counselors are focused primarily on prevention. They serve as an advocate for every student in the building. The ideal counselors use data to drive the program design. They evaluate their counseling programs annually, and they follow the ASCA ethical standards. So just make sure in the second paragraph that you've incorporated these concepts into your discussion of the ideal school counselors. So that's one submission, is the vision statement after this meeting. Then another submission is the mission statement. In a minute I'm going to explain the difference between the two. But here's the rubric items. Basically we're saying that the mission statement for your school counseling program includes the purpose of school counseling, the tasks that school counselors do, and then the principles or the foundational beliefs upon which the school counseling mission is based. So then also the ASCA and Indiana DOE also want to see the mission statement for your school and the mission statement for your district. So all 3 of those would come as one document being uploaded. Just scan them into one PDF document and upload those to us would be great. So and what we hope that you're checking for is to make sure that your school counseling mission statement is aligned with your school mission statement and your school district mission statement. So all 3 missions should be in alignment with each other. Okay, so that's submission 2, and then submission 3 is the minutes from your second advisory council meeting, and those rubric items are the same as last month. Okay, so any questions on submissions or anything we've talked about so far? I'm not seeing hands. No, no questions, Sue. Okay, no questions. Any written questions coming in, Chris?
No, no written. I do see Rose has her hand up.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's unmute Rose. Very good. Rose?
My question has to do with the YouTube video. That first link does not work.
Okay, I'll check it. I checked both links earlier today and could get them both to open up, so I'm not sure. And I copied and pasted the URL, but I'll check it again, and before, if it's different than what I've given you, I'll send you all an email. We'll get you the correct one. The other thing is if you just search on YouTube for Lorraine Monroe Doctrine or Lorraine Monroe and just look for part 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I'll check that, but I checked it right before we did the webinar and it worked then, so, but I'll check again. Thank you. Okay, let's go on. Good question, Rose, thank you. Okay, so let's walk through this meeting. Excuse me. I'm going to open up the PowerPoint that goes with the meeting. And let me get that in here. Okay. So here is the PowerPoint. And the first slide, we're just welcoming everybody, maybe making introductions again if you have new people. And then here's the agenda for today. We're looking at reviewing, and then before we do the vision, we're going to define academic rigor and talk about why rigor is so important, rationale for post-secondary. And then on the vision brainstorm, we're just kind of telling people at the beginning, we're going to talk about today what we believe that all kids deserve, and then what are our ideals, ideal student practices, adult practices, and then achievement data. So beginning with the process review, organizational structure, I'm just going to fly through these foundational beliefs. Let me see what's going on here. There we go. And then flying through the process, folks. And then this is a new slide that will start dropping in now for every meeting. And basically we want folks to understand that as a result of each discussion, there's going to be a product. And the product coming out of today's discussion is the vision statement. You'll take all of the input that they give you and then write the vision statement that you'll bring back to the next meeting. At your next meeting, the vision statement will be checked off, and then it will say today next to program goals. So we're just wanting them to see that out of all these discussions, there's 6 documents that will be developed that will define your program, and that their input is what's helping you to develop these documents. Okay, so before we vision, we want to look at academic rigor. We're defining academic rigor as the level of achievement that's required for students to be successful at the next educational level. So for example, if we want students to be middle school ready, an elementary school would need to make sure that they have prepared students to earn A's and B's in Algebra 1 and other courses traditionally taught in high school, but is now being taught in the middle school. In our School Improvement Institute, where we work big time with all areas of the school on improvement, we're finding that a lot of our high schools are beginning to encourage a high percentage of students to do college level work, International Baccalaureate or dual credit or AP courses in the senior year. And to help create time for that, a lot of our high schools are asking their middle schools to begin teaching courses that were traditionally taught in 9th grade. So biology, Algebra 1, first year foreign language or world language, so that kids have the time later to do the college level courses in their senior year. So we really want elementary schools to start thinking about when kids leave your elementary building, are they prepared to do such rigorous work in middle school? To earn A's and B's in algebra and other courses that are high school courses when they get to 8th grade. So something for elementary schools to think about as kids walk out the door, are they ready to do that level of rigor in middle schools? Excuse me. Then, losing my voice. Then in high school, we're also wanting to look at, for middle schools, so if you're preparing students to be high school ready, we would like middle schools to be thinking about when kids walk out the door in middle school, are they ready to earn at least B's in English 9, Geometry or Algebra 2, Biology, World History, or World Language, French or Spanish or whatever, and in Fine Arts. This is a typical freshman course load, and we really want the middle schools to make sure that when kids walk out the door, they're ready to earn at least B's in those courses. I know that C's are an average course, but from our work in our School Improvement Institute, we've discovered that C's on report cards typically don't indicate a strong mastery of a subject. It really needs to be a B. So middle schools should be thinking, when kids leave, are they ready for that kind of rigor in high school? Then, when we're looking at rigor in upper level courses in high school, high schools need to be thinking about in 9th grade and 10th grade, are we preparing kids for academic success in 11th and 12th grade English and upper level math courses, including math in that senior year, in upper level science courses, chemistry, physics, world history, world languages, fine arts, and then AP courses or dual credit or international baccalaureate. In the lower grades in high school, are we preparing kids so that when they come into the junior year, they're prepared for those upper level courses? So that's something to think about in terms of academic rigor in high school. And then the other thing that high schools need to be thinking about is our kids' post-secondary rigor. So, I'm sorry, post-secondary ready. So what that means as kids are walking out of high school, have they been prepared to choose the appropriate type of post-secondary education that's right for them, to understand apprenticeship programs, 2-year college, 4-year college, career colleges, job training in the military, so that they are able to pick the right type of post-secondary education that aligns with their career interests. Are they able to come up with a major, either knowing that they want to study carpentry and so they're going into the carpenter's apprenticeship program, or they want to go into this major or that major in a 4-year college or 2-year college or career college. We know that a lot of students do not complete a 4-year college degree in 4 years, and some of the time that's because kids are jumping from major to major. So if we can do a lot of work in high school so that kids enter a major that's going to be right for them when they start college, it's going to be really helpful for them, because when kids stay in college for 6 years, their financial aid runs out after 4 years, and so it's really difficult in the 5th and 6th year to make sure that they can pay for college. At any rate, so then that brings up the third point. When kids leave high school, we want to make sure that they understand how they're going to pay for their 2-year, 4-year college or their apprenticeship program, or whatever their post-secondary choice is. How are they going to pay for it? And then the fourth point is we also want students to be able to make sound personal social decisions. We know that when kids get to their apprenticeship program or their 4-year college or military, that they have a lot of freedom, and we need them to be at the point where they can make good decisions, personal social decisions. And then finally, in the academic area, when kids walk out the door in high school, we want them to be at a point where they don't need remediation in college. We know that the more remediation a student needs after high school, the less likely it is that they're going to complete a college credential, a post-secondary credential. So we need them to leave high school ready. And then the other concept that we're really pushing is the 15 to finish concept, that when kids walk out of high school, they're ready to enroll in 15 credits per semester in college, 2-year college or 4-year college, and will be able to enroll in 15 credits and earn 15 credits per semester, so they finish on time while they still have financial aid. And then finally, the grades we're hoping that and want kids to be prepared to earn in college are B's. C's, at least we know, are transferable, but again, if we want kids to succeed in the later years in college, we need them to be able to do well in the first years of college. So things to think about in terms of academic rigor, the level of academic rigor that's needed in high school for kids to be able to succeed in post-secondary. And then at the post-secondary level, just kind of completing the picture, when kids are in post-secondary, either in an apprenticeship program or a 2-year college, career college, 4-year college, we need them to become proficient in these 3 areas: in academic skills, being able to do informational reading, persuasive writing, math applications, soft skills, teamwork, work ethic, being responsible, and then habits of mind, that when kids are entering the workforce, they know how to analyze, interpret, they understand precision and accuracy, problem solving, and reasoning. These are the skills that employers want, and so as we're moving kids into the world of work, we really need them to be proficient in those areas, whether they're coming straight from high school or they're coming from 4-year college or 2-year college or apprenticeship program. That being career ready means that we're proficient in all of those areas. Okay, so one last thought on looking at rigor. In today's global economy, we know that in order for students to be globally competitive with workers in other countries as well as in our country, that we need them to be proficient in what's called the STEM areas, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And again, with your advisory council, if you have the business community at the table, they're really going to echo this on how important this is that the students graduating from your high school are proficient in those areas. So, okay, so that's STEM. So, and then finally, we've talked about academic rigor. Now let's look at why post-secondary is so important. And again, we're just looking at school counselors. I know you've seen this a million times before, but just, you know, weekly income and how a student's standard of living will increase as their income, as the level of education that they have increases. There's the, you know, I'm sure you've seen this before, but the income difference over a lifetime of working, 42 years of working, is significantly different if students have a bachelor's degree or just a high school diploma. And again, you know, this impacts their standard of living. Unemployment rate goes down as students have more education. This is something that, again, if your workforce folks are at the table, your business people, they will echo this as well, that now in today's workforce, we're shipping lots of jobs out of our country. Low-skilled jobs are going to countries that have low incomes. I'm just giving you manufacturing wages, comparing the United States to other countries. And then looking at where's the high-skilled workforce. When having lots of companies that are shipping their jobs out of country because they can't find the high-skilled workforce. So in the TIMSS International ranking, and right now with the math ranking, the U.S. ranks 9th in the world, where China is #1. So China not only has a highly skilled workforce, they have a very low income workforce. It makes it very desirable for employers to ship jobs to them. The other thing that is often cited is, yes, but in the United States we have a creative workforce, and that is absolutely true. However, other countries realize that, and they want their employees to be to also be creative. So we had a conversation with some educators from India who were talking about in their curriculum, they're starting now to add curriculum content that would help their workforce to be more creative. So again, it's, you know, we maybe have the edge on creativity right now, but for how long? So it's just things that we need to be thinking about as we're talking about academic rigor and about why post-secondary education is so important. This also I found very interesting. As the percentage of citizens in your community who have a post-secondary or bachelor's degree goes up, the wages for your employees that have just a high school diploma or even high school dropouts, their wages go up in your community as the community's percentage of people that have a bachelor's degree goes up. So it's really important to everybody's standard of living to increase the percentage of your students who have a post-secondary credential. And then other things, people that have post-secondary credentials smoke at a less than half of the national average, exercise twice as much, spend more time in their education with children, volunteer twice as often, and vote at a higher rate. So your community really benefits in a lot of ways when the percentage of its citizens who have a post-secondary degree increases. This is a slide that speaks highly to me. As I look at this data, this is something that really upsets me, that the college enrollment is at a higher rate for our more affluent students than our low-income students. And for me personally, this is something that makes me want to get up every morning and come to work, because this is data that disturbs me. And I think, too, that for those folks in your community that are interested in social justice, that this is, you know, something that would speak to them for why we have to really go after kids and increase for certain populations the percentage of students that enter college and complete college. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background to kind of help people really look at why academic rigor, high academic rigor, is so important. You know, it's not just because somebody in the State Department said that we should do this. It's really about loving kids, understanding global economics, and then really trying to figure out what do we have to do as a school counseling program to increase academic rigor so that our students can compete globally and can have a higher standard of living. So let's look now at the vision. So here, this definition of the vision is really important. It's important because the rest of the discussion is going to be all about the vision, and we want to make sure that everybody's using the same definition. So a vision is a detailed description of our school's ideal students' achievement data and the ideal student and adult practices. There's two words in that I'd really emphasize when you're describing what a vision is. One is detailed. We're going to describe all aspects of the school in detail. What would happen if all of our dreams came true in our school and our community? And then the other very important word there is ideal. I like to say when I do this, I usually follow up by saying, this is ideal student achievement data. It's ideal student and adult practices. It's pie in the sky. It's lofty. It's not based in reality. It's just if we had a magic wand and we were waving it and all of our dreams could come true, this is what what our ideal would look like. We want folks to understand that this vision is not based in reality. It's just our dreams that we have for kids. Okay, so then we want to contrast vision and mission, because this is another thing that people tend to get mixed up. So again, the vision is a detailed description of the ideal state. It's lofty, it's bold, it's pie in the sky. The mission is a brief statement. It's kind of like a mantra. It's what a cheerleader would say. It's like a sound bite. It's a brief statement that says that it's the aim of the school to move towards the vision. So the vision may describe all of the detail, but then the mission is that we're going to move closer to all that detail. So mission is usually short. It describes the purpose of the school, the tasks of the school, and a little bit about the foundational beliefs. It's usually one or two sentences. It's not really, really, really long. But our focus is going to be on this vision because we really do want to paint a picture of what everything will look like if our dreams come true. Then, this is also a really important slide. It'll help you avoid some resistance later if people understand this. Again, what we want to emphasize on this slide is that the vision is pie in the sky. It's lofty, bold, it's not based in reality. Then, in contrast with that, a goal is based in reality. It's a realistic step somewhere between where you currently are and this dream and the vision. It's reachable within a certain time frame, and there is the expectation that you will reach your goals, while there's not an expectation that we'll ever reach the vision. We'll never get to reach our dream. If we have, we probably haven't dreamed high enough. And that's really, really important, and you might also point out that our next step is to define the goals. We are going to do that, but first we want to think about, what are our dreams? Who do we have dreams for, and how high do we dream for them? Okay, so those definitions, if you can get that across, that'll save you a lot of headaches later if people understand that before they go into the discussion. Just a couple of quotes I like. You can take these out if you want to, but I love these two quotes. From Joel Barker, vision without action is just but a dream. It's just worthless. You're dreaming, but you don't do anything about it. Action without vision just passes the time because it's just random action. It's not leading you in any one direction. But if you have vision and then it's backed up with action, that's what changes the world. Having a dream and then putting action to it. And then also from Peter Senge, he says that without vision, there's no reason to move away from the status quo. If you can't dream something that's different than what you have now, you'll never move away from where you are now. Visioning creates a discomfort, which results in an energy for change. So as people dream, as you have this discussion, we want people to be uncomfortable. We want them to, look at, gosh, we have these dreams for kids, but that's not where we are. We got to do something. So out of that discomfort causes that energy for change. If you don't have a dream, if you don't have a vision, then you just stay where you are because there's no reason for changing. So we think visioning is really, really important to this whole process. So here's some practical reasons for visioning. Sometimes people say to me, well, this is pie in the sky, why are we doing it? So this visioning raises our expectations. The exercise of visioning creates a common purpose, a common direction. It will show your advisory council that they're on the same page with you, and that you show you that you're on the same page with your advisory council. Creates energy, because then you have that dissatisfaction. Focuses on the future, which I love. We're talking about the future. The good thing about that is that when you're talking about the future, you're not pointing fingers at people for things that happened in the past. So you get past that blame game. It's just very positive. Let's talk about where we want to go, and then what do we have to do to get there. It focuses on students. You'll notice nothing in our visioning talks about what's best for teachers or parents. It's all about what's best for kids. And then the visioning becomes the foundation for decision making. If it moves us towards the vision, it's a keeper. If it moves us away from the vision, then why are we doing it? Why are we wasting our time? So, okay. So there's 4 steps. These are the 4 steps: convictions, ideal adult practices, ideal student choices, and then ideal achievement data. So this is going to be 4 discussions. The first discussion is, what do we believe all kids deserve? It's in our heart of hearts, what do we want in our community, in our school, for all kids? So we're going to start out with some examples, and these are actually from previous schools that have been through RSC. For example, all kids deserve to grow up in a culture of high expectations. All kids deserve to master the state educational standards. All kids deserve to continue their education after high school. All kids deserve to be engaged in their learning. All kids deserve academic and career guidance. Just, what are the things that all kids deserve? So then we're introducing the question, can we identify people's core convictions by observing their behaviors? And this is where we'll show the Frederick Douglass Academy, the Laurie Monroe video. And that activity sheet there is, as folks are watching the video, they're just going to write down, what do they think that the people at Frederick Douglass believe about kids, about learning, and about education? And they'll come up with things like, the teachers at Frederick Douglass believe that all kids should go to college. They believe that all kids are capable of learning. All kids deserve extra help. All kids deserve to learn in a structured environment where there's good discipline. So they'll come up with all these ideas, and then after you watch the video, you can debrief, and people will share out loud what they see. So and they can speak from this list that they've recorded during the video. Okay, so then the next activity is, we're saying, okay, so that's what they believe at Frederick Douglass. What do we believe at our school? If we took a 60-minute film crew up and down the halls, what will we be seeing? What do we believe at our school about kids learning and education? And this document that you're seeing there, it's another kind of brainstorm document. Each member of your advisory council will have a copy of this. And in that top left-hand quadrant, they'll just write down what they believe, what they think people in your community believe about kids learning and education. And also what they believe in their heart of hearts. And you might really focus on that. What do you believe in your heart of hearts about kids learning and education? Then, after they've worked for maybe 4 minutes, what people tend to focus on is just expectations. So we want to kind of broaden people's thinking. So you'll pop in, you'll interrupt everybody, and just real quickly just say, let me interrupt you for a minute. As you're thinking, please think about, what do kids deserve in terms of their school counseling, in terms of curriculum rigor, in terms of the instructional practices that we use in our building, assessments that we give, extra help that we provide, and the learning environment. And then I'd leave this slide up and just ask people every few minutes, are you including what kids deserve in all 7 of these areas? And especially the school counseling. So then you may be giving people another 4 minutes. So this is quick. People just writing down as many things as they can come up with, and they're working independently. They're not talking with their neighbors at this point. Then we're going to use a Delphi consensus building model. So the first step then is that individual work. So they've got that activity sheet. We're just brainstorming without talking to anybody else. And sometimes I'll joke because it's really hard for adults to do this work without talking. So sometimes I'll get kind of silly and say, now, remember what that means. Individual means you're not talking to your neighbor. It's just, one-on-one, because they tend to like to talk on this one. Then, after you've given them the 4 or 8 minutes, 8 minutes to work on that individual work, then you're saying, okay, now let's get into groups of 3 or 4 and come up with, share your ideas with each other, and as a small group, come up with 3 or 4 things, convictions that you have that you think are really important that you want to share with the large group. You'll give them, 4 minutes or so, again, real quick, 4 minutes to work, and then we'll come back to the large group, and each of the small groups will share their ideas. While they are sharing their ideas, then you've got that document as a poster, and you're recording on the poster everything that's said. And then finally, you're asking people, okay, in this quadrant, can we live with this and support it publicly with these ideas that we believe as an advisory council that everybody can, that kids deserve. So if somebody says they can't live with one of those things, you've got to take it off the list, because if you don't, you'll be dishonoring that person. You'll be saying to them, I don't care what you think, we're just going to leave it on the list anyway. So what you want to come up with is a list that everybody can agree with. I don't think this is a hard consensus. One time we had a gentleman that said that he didn't believe that all kids deserve love, and the rest of the advisory council about fell out of their chairs. But they had to take it off the list because it would not have been honoring him to leave it on. Then what they said to everybody was, okay, let's have these discussions, and we'll come back to our next meeting. And then between meetings, everybody called that guy and said, we want love on the list, and let's talk about why you think it doesn't belong there. And they convinced him that it should be on there, and so the next meeting they came back and added it on. So at any rate, but you want to make sure that everybody there can agree with that list, because if you don't, when people are in the grocery store or they're running somebody on the street, they're going to start saying, oh, well, that's silly meetings. They're just going to do whatever they want to anyway, so I don't even know why I go. So it's really important that you take anything off the list that not everybody agrees to. Okay, so that's discussion number 1. Discussion number 2 is discussing the ideal adult practices. So you want to look at what are the ideal counselors doing in this ideal school, and then broaden that to ideal teachers, ideal administrators, ideal parents, and ideal community members. And again, going back to this chart, as they're brainstorming, the upper right quadrant is that quarter is this brainstorm, and those boxes are broken into counselors and then teachers, administrators, parents, and community members. So people are just writing down in their ideal world, what do they believe that ideal adults are doing, ideal parents, ideal counselors. Then you'll come back, and again, we're wanting to expand their thinking, ideal practices in all these 7 areas. Then we're coming back and doing the same Delphi consensus building model, so individual brainstorm, then small group, and then large group. And you have to move this along, so 4 minutes in each of these. Then step 3 is they're describing ideal student practices and ideal school. What are the kids doing? I love this discussion. If you look around, you'll see smiles on everybody's faces. They'll describe that the kids are lined up. They can't wait to get in school. They've done more homework than we asked them to do, and they're all fight over the seats in the front, and they are so engaged. And it feels kind of silly, but it's actually the practices that we want. So, so it's just a kind of a fun discussion. Again, we're going to the consensus building model, and then step 4 is ideal student data. On this one, we are suggesting to them a couple of data points, the state math test, state English test, and then here are some that our organization is suggesting to you. You can take those off and put your own in, depending on if your school does Dibbles or Terra Nova or whatever, or the NABIC test. You might want to add other assessments that you're using in your school. So part 1 is just to write down the data fields. And then on their individual work, part 2 is to write, is to write down the percentage of students in their ideal dream that meets that standard, that benchmark. This is the most difficult discussion in the entire process, the entire year. A lot of folks will say, hey, if this is ideal, wouldn't we want all students to graduate from high school on time, and all students to pass the state test, and all students to succeed in an AP course? You know, it should be 100% all the way down the line. Other people will say, yeah, but you know, these kids, you know, it's going to be really hard for them to succeed, so my vision is just 80%. And in some schools, that becomes a very, very heated debate. And our advice is to allow that debate to occur. It's probably, if you end up with a debate, it's probably going to be the richest discussion maybe ever in your school. The basic bottom line is, who do we have dreams for? Do we have dreams for all kids or some kids? When we first, 20 years ago, started having these discussions with schools, what we heard from folks was, well, we have dreams for all kids, oh, but not the African American kids, because they haven't had the same opportunities as the white kids, and we would just be doing them a disservice to have high dreams for them because, you know, they just haven't had the opportunities. And you know, in those schools, that if that was what they believed, then they weren't providing the opportunities for the African American students. They weren't providing extra help. They weren't providing enough sections of courses so that kids could get in the most rigorous courses. They weren't engaging in enrolling the African American students in the most rigorous courses. So luckily, we don't hear that very much, if at all, anymore. We don't hear that about African American students. We do hear it today about low-income students. You know, low-income students, they don't have the opportunities that others have. We now hear it a lot about special ed students. You know, we can't have high dreams for special ed kids because, you know, we would just be frustrating them. They couldn't possibly reach them. You know, and if we don't have dreams for special ed students, there's no way they're going to ever reach a high level of academic achievement because we won't be giving them what they need. The other group that we hear a lot from is in urban areas. We hear a lot about mobile kids, that we can't have dreams for mobile kids. So at any rate, so we would suggest you allow this discussion to go on for a little bit. And then if you can't get that, if that percentage isn't getting up to 100%, just invite people, turn over your sheets, right? And if, let's say they've gotten up to 84%, you would say to them, write down the names of the kids in the 16% that you don't have dreams for, that you don't want, that you don't, you know, have dreams that they could someday, you know, with a lot of hard work and support, that they could meet these standards. Write down their names. And most folks, when they start to put names to those percentages, they say, well, you know, we really do have dreams for these kids. We think it's going to be really hard, but we would love it. You know, we'd love to dream for these kids. And they'll come to that 100%. And again, if they don't come to 100%, there will be a population of kids in your building that probably don't get pushed and don't get resources because people don't have dreams for them. Now, that said, if it doesn't go to 100%, you can't force it. If you can't get the discussion be above 85%, then in your vision statement, it should say 85%. And then you're just acknowledging to everybody that, you know, you don't have dreams for every kid in your building. But if that's the case, that's the case. You can't put 100% unless the advisory council says 100%. So, okay, so that's the vision data. I know I'm going over a little bit here. That's the end of the meeting for discussions. Let's look at the online system real quickly. And whoops. Okay, looking at the online system. Okay, so here's the steering team manual. Make sure you're looking at year one. And just very quickly on that one, I wanted to point out on the vision, here are the handouts. And let's see, what I wanted to show you was down in the tools, there's a vision statement sample. And let me show you, if I still have that open. Yeah, that's going to, oops, nope. Oh, I guess I closed it. Let me open it up again. This will take a minute. Yeah, my computer's being funky. Let me see here. There we go. Okay, so on the vision statement, after you get everybody's input in, the vision statement would look something like this. We believe that all students deserve, there's your prompt from that discussion, and then you would just fill in, ideas that people have said. The more you can use quotes verbatim from people so they can see their words in your vision statement, the better off you're going to be down the road. Here's the description of the adults and then the students, and then the achievement data and the percentage that in your dream you see meeting each of those benchmarks. Okay, so that's the manual, and then let's look at how to get the vision statement online. So I'm going to go to the Process tab, and I'm going to scroll down to September, October. Okay, so today's webcast will be right here if you want to watch it later. Then here's the manual for Advisory Council Meeting 2. And then in the entering the program vision statement, I'm just going to click on Enter. And we've given you 4 areas where you can enter information. So we believe that all students deserve, and then you would just write what they deserve in here. I like to do this as a bulleted list, which is fine. Just one thing to remember, our web-based system does not recognize characters. So if you are making a list, you can just put a dash between the beginning of each of them, or you can put an asterisk. Either one of those you can use to come up with a bulleted list. At the bottom, we've given you just boxes where you can put in the benchmark percentage of kids who earn a 3 on an AP test, and then the vision data. If you need more than 5, which you probably will, just you can click this and it'll bring up another 5 data fields here for you to fill in. Okay, so that's how you get the vision in. And let's go back to the process page. And back down to October. So that's vision. Mission statement. This is also in the manual, but you can click right here to download some instructions on how to write a mission and also some sample missions. And then just click the Enter. And this is where you'd put your mission statement for your school counseling program, and then for your school, and then for your district. So you've got that. And then meeting 2 minutes, that's the same as last time, and then here's your rubric. So I think that's it. Let's pause real quickly and see if we have questions. Chris, are you seeing questions? I'll look real quickly. I'm not seeing any hands up. How about Chris? Any questions come up while we were working? Okay, I think not. So very good. So again, congratulations to those of you who held your first advisory council meeting. That is awesome. And for those of you who are about to, good luck. And remember, if you are bringing new advisory council members on board for your second meeting, make sure that you meet with them ahead of time, do a quick catch-up so that they're not coming in with a different knowledge base than the people that attended your first meeting. So good luck to all of you. This is honorable work, and as we always kind of like to finish, remember that what you do makes a difference in the lives of young people.